I'm Aleks.
And I'm Rob.
I'm from Novi Sad, Serbia.
And I'm from New York City.
I'm a Scorpio.
I'm a Taurus.
I'm a man.
And I'm a woman.
We are both very different.
And yet, we have a lot to talk about. So Freddy, Sydney, meet each other.
Hello, Sydney.
Hello,
Nice to
lovely
meet
to
you.
meet
Yeah. Can I? Yeah, no, sorry. Can I just ask Sydney who? Because obviously we don't know each other, but do you know Rob or Aleks from before?
I know Aleks. So I met Aleks on my first and only contract at the moment. And I believe it was Alex's second contract.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So yeah, that was the beginning of last year, I think. I'm really not good with things like this. I feel like I've been in like Groundhog Day for a very long time at the moment. So I forget like when my normal life was happening. But yeah, so I met Aleks on that contract. I was in the cast, female singer, as is everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sure.
Freddy's also a female singer.
Yes. Actually, funny thing. I had a contract where the F1 she was always saying like, you're just trying to become F1. And I was like, no, I'm M1. And she was like, you're always going for my songs and my roles. And I was like, sorry.
oh god.
So Freddy, you and me, we did like few contracts. They both did just one.
I'm just going to show you if you can read.
Hamburg.
Oh, of course.
Little Hamburg mug.
Of course.
Yeah, it's for today.
By the way, we have like a platform that we are like putting our podcast from, and we can like I watched the statistics today, and there is apparently like 10% of people like listening from Germany, and there is like a specific Hamburg, so and more than one by percentage. So somebody from Hamburg is listening.
Yay. That's what we all have in common, really.
yeah.
It's Hamburg.
So let's start. Sydney, why don't you tell the listeners who you are?
Who I am.
Why are you here?
Why am I here? So I am a singer normally. I know Aleks from obviously a contract, and yeah, that's pretty much me. I am normally just a straight vocalist. I'm not really a dancer. Usually more pop rock, hence why I'm more down the cruise ship kind of avenue rather than like musical theatre. But I am trained in musical theatre.
And you are from
London, yes. The accent.
I had no clue.
No one could tell. Yeah, I live in London.
And then Freddy, who are you?
Yes, I'm Freddy, or my full name is Frederick, and I'm from Sweden, and I am also mainly a vocalist. I was also trained in musical theater, but I also tend to do more pop rock stuff, hence why I also do ships, actually. So we have a lot in common, me and Sydney. Yeah, I did 7 contracts, I believe, and I also did 1 contract with Aleks and you, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I am.
I just need to let you know that we were thinking about playing a practical joke on you, Aleks and I, and just only referencing you as Carl for the entire because for Sydney and for the rest of the listeners, Freddy's first name is actually Carl. And the only reason why anyone would know this is because when you first arrive on the ship and they put your full name on everything ahead of time. So if you go by a different name, too bad, unless you change it, it's going to be that first name. So Freddy's actual first name is Carl, but yeah.
And it's that damn
name tag.
Yeah, it's that damn thing that they cannot read. Like, what the hell? It's like Carl. And once, and once Freddy told me, I was like, "Hello, Carl. I don't know you." That was. Don't ever talk to me.
Sometimes when I'm sassy, I'm Carl. Otherwise, never.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh. So, what was your first impressions of AIDA, and how did you get involved with them?
So, AIDA was my first job when I left college. So I auditioned for about, 6 months, 8 months, something like that. Got AIDA, and then that was grand. I was like, amazing. I've got a cruise ship. It's like more pop. It's quite like more relaxed in obviously a lot of the rules that go with sort of cruise sort of stuff, like what you can wear. Whereas obviously some of them are very formal, aren't they? Like they call it
Yes.
like, kind of more laid back casual cruise. I was like, brilliant, this is amazing. Like it'll be fine. Everything's fine. I was gonna be moving to Hamburg. Amazing. Got to Hamburg the day before my birthday at, what was it? Probably like 10 o'clock in the evening. Got back to my accommodation, and obviously everyone who has lived there would know that St. Pauli has got graffiti everywhere, which wasn't something that I was used to. So I got there, and my flat, like my building, just had graffiti all over it and this big red door. And I was like, oh my God, like, I am gonna die here. Like, because it's not the norm, like, for there to be graffiti all over buildings, like, at least not where I'm from. So I got there, and I just thought, oh my God, like, I hadn't even got inside yet, and I thought, I don't think I'm gonna be able to stay here. I thought it was gonna be awful. Actually, my flat was lovely. Like, my actual accommodation, once I got upstairs, was lovely. Absolutely fine. The day I had basic safety training, the next day, got lost, right? Got lost in the morning.
No.
It was my birthday, right? It was my birthday on the first day of basic safety training. Got lost in Housestones at whatever time in the morning. Obviously had to be at the ferry port at like 7:00 whatever. It's about 10 to 7, and I am literally walking up and down the Reeperbahn. Like, I don't know where I'm going. Like, I'm like, I have no idea what is the right direction here. And luckily, I just saw a taxi, and I just pawed at the taxi and just said, please just take me to where the boat goes from. And he was like, it's literally there. And I said, like, please just take me. Took me, got there, and realised that I had forgotten to look at what, like, dock it was going from, like what number. And I just went, my lucky number's 2, so I just went, I'm just going to go to 2. And it was 2.
Oh my
God.
Wow.
And oh my God, you know when you think, I've moved to a country, bear in mind, before this, I'd never even been away from my mum and dad, like my brothers, for longer than a week. I'd been on a week holiday with friends, and that was the longest at one time I'd ever been away. Decided to move to Germany on my own, the day before my birthday, first job. I don't have good luck. I like the number 2. We'll just go with it. If I miss the ferry, like, there's not really a lot I can do about it. I'm just going to have to turn up late and say, listen, it is what it is. Like, it is what it is. I can't help it. It's just what's happened.
You're like, I chose number 2. It should have been 5. Shit happened. Whatever.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't blame me. Listen, if you want to know, it is actually my birthday, so
Right.
Go easy
let
on
me off.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if anyone else had this. Like, the first time they've gone away, like, that first night was like, I know not one person in this whole country.
Yeah.
I don't know where I've got to be, and obviously you're not got there with enough time to do like a dummy run. Do you know what I mean? Like, to work out where you're going. And obviously in Germany as well, not one thing's open on a Sunday.
No.
Yeah.
Which is weird anyway, like, because I'm so not used to that.
Why do they send people on Sundays?
100%. They should
start?
send you on a
should be
Saturday.
Yep.
Then you've got the Sunday to sort of like get your bearings, work out where you're going, get some food shopping, because God knows you can't go get no food shopping on a Sunday anywhere because everywhere's shut. Like, you have, and I thought, you know what, don't know what I'm doing. I just put in my maps McDonald's. Thought there's got to be a McDonald's. There's McDonald's everywhere. Whoa, walked to the Reeperbahn, didn't I? And I got the shock of my life. I didn't realise I was going to a red light district.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Got the shock of my life.
On top of
Did not
everything.
realise. And next to McDonald's, literally next to McDonald's, there was obviously this place that's, you know, the one that says girls, and I thought, where am I? Like, God forbid, where am I? Like, I don't know what's going on. All I know is I'm starving and I've got to get on a ferry tomorrow. And rehearsals, obviously, rehearsals is always the same. Rehearsals is hard for everyone.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that first day I did think, I think I'm just going to have to go back to London. Like, I think I'm going to get on a flight home.
The graffiti thing is real, is like, especially since the first person I met was Neek, for the other two who know Neek. And he is from Amsterdam. For me, like, he was the first person I met. Thank God I didn't have your situation, or I think I would have had the exact same, like, experience as you. Yeah. Because when you first walk up to that street, it's just all graffiti. And I'm from New York, and we don't have that much graffiti everywhere. Like, that was really wild to see. And it's like, oh, this is a really nice area. Like, there's a family who lives in the apartment across the street.
And you're like, what? Sorry?
It's like,
here?
crazy. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So Freddy, what was your situation when you first...
Yeah, so my situation was very much like Sydney. I didn't even finish my education, actually, because my contract had started before I graduated. So they actually asked me to fly to to Hamburg before my education was finished. So I had to leave my class of 3 years over like dinner. It was really, really, really bizarre and really hard. And then I flew, and it was the same thing. I got there, I was looking around, and I was like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? Really? Like, where am I? This is like the slum of the earth. It felt like I was like, I took a flight,
That is literally
and then
what you feel
I
like.
got dropped off, and it was like, where the hell am I? There can't be like a building with people doing like arts and singing and stuff around here. It was so bizarre. And it's funny, Sydney, you said a red door. Can I ask you, was it Paulinestraße?
Yes, it was.
Yes, my first contract, I lived there too, so I had the same thing. Pull up to this red door, and I'm like, this looks good.
And also on Sundays is when you have all the people who are partying from last night, so I'm sure there's also a bunch of like weirdos hanging out
roaming
in front
around
of the door too.
Everywhere. And they exit the bars. When you go to rehearse the morning after, they are still partying. 10 a.m. they're still partying.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to work now. I had a whole night of sleep, and you're just now getting out of the bar. It's crazy. No, so I also had that first... I came there. I didn't know anyone, and I was also very insecure, I would say, actually. So I was very much like taken aback. But I had also people living there, because it's like a shared living. You have 7 rooms or something, and you share kitchen and 2 bathrooms. And I had some lovely people living there already when I got there, so I had like the rundown. I think it was a British guy, actually. He like told me like, you should go now today and get some groceries done, because I flew there on a Saturday, because it wasn't open on a Sunday, obviously.
Yeah.
So he told me, do that now, because tomorrow you rehearse, and then you will want to have to go and get some groceries, but you can't. So do it today. And so I did that. Basic safety training, a whole episode of that too.
That's a whole thing, isn't it? And like,
yeah, I think so.
that's a whole thing.
Because it feels separate from your like rehearsal period. It's like 2 different chapters. It's like basic safety training is one kind of world where you like wake up sacrilegiously. I can't say that word correctly, but you wake up really, really early, and then you have to get on a boat to just go over the river, and then you get to this place, and yeah, it's just bizarre, really.
The boat thing also, I think, throws off a lot of people.
Yeah,
because
yes.
it's like, in how many cities, except for like Amsterdam, and I mean, there are ferries around the New York region, but no one's like actively using them.
Yeah, and also they have the boats that specifically go to the pier for the Lion King and the big theater over there.
And it's like the rehearsal space. It's in the middle of red light district, so
yeah,
it's kind of
Yes.
on top of everything. It's like all the shenanigans and the craziness of that, and like for the first timers, you're kind of like, what the hell happened here?
Yeah.
I thought this was not Amsterdam, and it is.
So rehearsals happen, as you were saying, Sydney. It was. Why don't you guys explain what the process is for learning so many shows for a cruise ship? It's not like a normal theater experience, or.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, sure.
You've done 7 contracts, so I just mean.
I would also say I'm the same as Sydney. This was my first job, so I haven't worked with musical theater, so I can't really like compare the two. But I can tell you what the system of AIDA is, of course. And usually you get material beforehand, like even before you go to Hamburg, you have the material at hand. You have notes, you have playbacks, you have like visual explanations of the show. If you have characters, there's sometimes character definitions. You get a lot of stuff beforehand, but sometimes you don't have time to rehearse before you go, because sometimes they just throw you in, or like, can you fly here tomorrow? Like crazy stuff like that. So usually you have time to rehearse, of course, but sometimes you don't. They suggest you look it over, but it's not a must. Even my first contract, I didn't have time because I was still in school and I was doing stuff towards my like final showing, if you may say, like in 3rd year. So I didn't have so much time to rehearse. I had to, because they started and I came 2 weeks late, but I had to kind of look it over. But then when I got there, I realized that like the tempo of the curve, like it's very intense. Every show is very intensely rehearsed. Like you have 4, 5, 6 days specifically for one show, and then you kind of leave that till the last kind of week before you go on board. And I think that helped me because you could like focus on one thing and then just do that every night when you got home. And then when you found out that, this feels good now, I kind of have it, you could move it to the side and then you would do the other show. And then you would have the time, like 2 months, I think between 4 and 6 days per show. And then you would kind of have it in the back of your mind when you would go to that week when you just rehearse all the shows before you go on board. So for me, it really worked. How was it for you, Sydney?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I'm a bit OCD and things like that, so I quite like everything kind of being like nicely done and then put away in a box. Do you know what I mean? Like it was absolutely, and then you can go back to it. And
yeah,
I found it easier as the rehearsals went on. Even though I knew more stuff and like I was learning more, I found it easier as it went on to deal with the workload as it was coming, if that made sense. We didn't have an M1 for the whole of our rehearsal period. So we was all also then taking turns in singing certain bits. So then that was weird because when we eventually did get an M1 3 days before we were going to board the ship, I was like, hang on, is that not mine? because I've been singing this bit for like 2 months, and I was like, oh no, that's actually not mine, is it? Like that's what I mean. I sometimes think it's harder to like relearn something than it is to learn it off the bat. So because you got so used to doing something a certain way, it was then like, oh no, like I can't do that. And I don't know if I just didn't pay much attention. I didn't realise I had to sing in German till I got to Hamburg.
Oh my god, the same. Same.
I feel like no one told me this. No one told me I had to sing in German.
You know how many German shows I had to learn? 6. I had to learn 6 German shows. Half of my show schedule was German shows.
Oh wow.
And I was baffled. I was looking, and when I auditioned for AIDA, I didn't even realize that it was a German company. How stupid am I?
I knew that. I was fine. But I got there, and I'd obviously been sent the material, and I was like, oh, grand. And I saw this German stuff and thought, oh, obviously they've sent that by mistake. Do you mean something that fundamental to the role would have been mentioned prior to this? Like, my agent hasn't told me this. No one from casting told me this.
When I got there, I just thought, well, that's 4 years of Spanish down the drain. Because I didn't read German at all.
Oh, no. And German's hard.
Had I known. Yeah,
the only thing I could say at the time of my contract was that my German's not very good. I made sure to learn to say that. Because of, like, checking duty and things like that, I was like, someone needs to teach me.
So that's actually a great transition to getting us into the actual cruise part of this episode. I mean, because it's important for people to note that for at least the theater department, there's 2 months before you even get on the ship. So you guys mentioned this already, but there's different parts for Aida Cara, which is the ship that all of us have been on. That ship has 6 men, 6 women, and as Sydney pointed out, sometimes when you're in rehearsals, and as Freddy pointed out, people come in late. Maybe they find out the day before that they're supposed to be there. Maybe they're filling in for somebody. Or in Sydney's case, you find out the week before who you're actually working with. Something that we talked about in the previous episode is your first day on board.
Bye.
And I'd love to hear your stories on that.
I don't know if you know this. I embarked the ship during dry dock. Which is a whole thing. So I don't know who has seen a ship in dry dock, hasn't seen a ship in dry dock. Right, okay. So you know that bridge that you can't quite put your feet down on. You have to walk across on your tiptoes to get,
I know.
So you can imagine me with 50 kilos of luggage trying to get across said bridge. Where you can't put your feet down flat because the gaps in. All I can explain is there's like a wooden bit and then a smaller bit and then a wooden bit and then so you can't put your feet flat in these things. You have to walk on your tiptoes through these like wooden kind of slots with 50 kilos of luggage to get onto a ship that is like what at the time was like 22 years old, was being basically dry docked for like is like obviously where they're like refurbing the whole ship. Do you know what I mean? Fixing what's broken, sorting it out. Got on. There was no water. So there was no aircon or anything like that. Nothing. The toilets didn't work. And workmen had been staying in my cabin. So normally when you get on a ship, obviously, like the people before you, when I left, I cleaned my cabin. I left it all lovely. Yeah. Any like leftover toiletries I had, I was like, here, help yourself. From Sydney, enjoy. No, got there. I spent 3 hours cleaning the walls and ceiling and bathroom of my cabin because there was just handprints everywhere, which also, I'm not complaining about this. I understand dry dock is horrific for anyone who's in dry dock. Not saying, like, I'm ungrateful, but it was hard. Like, boarding a ship in dry dock is hard. Like, we got there, obviously, we'd been travelling, like, we were sweating. It was hot. You can't have a shower because the water's only on for, like, an hour a day. Boarding a ship in dry dock was a whole new experience. Obviously, it was my first experience of a ship as well, and I was just like people were crying, like people were like, I need to, because we had a lot of new people in our cast. Like, I think we only had two singers that weren't new. The rest of us were all new. Until we had obviously our M1 that come a few days before, but like, so we were all very new. So we was like, is this what it's supposed to be like? I've since been told, obviously not. But it's fine, like, you help do things, but, like, you weren't expecting to be, like... Obviously, so it also wasn't the same. Obviously, normally when you get on the ship, you do your first show that night. Well, I was on the ship for, like, 4 days before we moved anywhere, before we left Marseille to go to Mallorca. So we was, like, working. Do you know what I mean? Like, although we had shows in, like, 3 days' time and, like, hadn't even started, like, performing yet, we were, like, ripping plastic off carpets and, like... sectioning off things on pool deck that like needed work done. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was fine, like, don't get me wrong, they weren't getting us to do heavy lifting because they didn't want us to like hurt ourselves 3 days before we're supposed to go live. And also we was in a different situation where we just had a new person brought into the cast, so also they were a bit lenient with that and let us rehearse. But in the same respect, you can't always use the theatre because the theatre's being refurbed as well, so you've just got to try and kind of rehearse where you can. Like, I had like metal poles, like 6 or 7 big metal poles on my floor for the first 3 weeks of my contract because no one knew where they were supposed to go. No one knew where they were from. And I just kept getting told, oh, just leave them there. Someone will come back for them. And after 3 weeks, I was kind of like, listen, I'm just going to put them outside my door, like in the hallway. Like, they're still near the room, but like, I actually need to like be able to walk around my cabin. Like, there's loads of big metal poles on the floor. So I didn't want to be that girl that's just got on first contract. Take your poles.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback on Sydney there for a bit. I also did dry dock, and I did dry dock in Marseille as well, so I know exactly what you did. What can I just ask? What did you work with during your stay? So, did you do like the plastic stuff on furniture?
So no, we didn't really have to do that. We had to uncover a lot of the theatre because the theatre had all been like newly carpeted and like the seats and all that.
It was already
so we didn't have to do a lot of that. Obviously, we was only there for 3 days before we sort of set sail. On pool deck, we had to lay down a lot of new sort of flooring, you know, like that blue or greeny sort of like stuff, I don't know what it is, that we had to lay down a lot of that, and just like little things, like they did let us rehearse a lot, to be honest. We were very lucky, but it was more the getting on the ship was so hard, like because of that bridge, like it was so hard to get on the ship.
That sounds terrifying.
But then also like the ship had areas that were like prohibited from entering, and like debris everywhere. I just remember my own dry dock. It was such a chaotic experience. Like you could barely go anywhere because there were cranes lifting stuff up and down. You couldn't go out on pool deck if you didn't have a hard hat on. Like, it was insane.
All of the time, even if you're walking like from your cabin to the theatre, which isn't having worked on at the moment, you have to wear steel-toe boots and the overalls, like the full-on onesie, like with the zip, and a hard hat, walking from your cabin to the theatre.
Yeah. Oh, I can't imagine having that the first thing happen on your contract. And I was in dry dock for 15 days.
Yeah. I left the ship before they went to dry dock. So, but we disembarked on that day, and everybody and we were out of the cabins 4:30, and we had pick up 11 a.m. and we were sleeping in theater, and people were in, and 600 people embarked that day for dry dock, and they're having
contractors.
Yes, and they're having or something maybe 600 in total, but and they would have inductions, of course, in the theater, and we were trying to sleep there. Of course, we didn't sleep, and the passengers were still there. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and every toilet, public toilet, was toilet for everybody because everybody was out of the cabin. Everything stopped to work at that day. They basically
Cara has a toilet problem, I will say. They always had problems with their toilets.
Oh my god! Did anyone else's toilet flood? Like actually, like water just coming out that's on the toilet?
Yes.
No, but
did you not have that?
No, but actually, my shower erupted once. It like had a proper like geyser moment. Like it was spewing black stuff all over. It was probably from the grey water though. It wasn't the black water. But it was like it was on the walls, it was on the floor. Like it looked like I had like taken a plant with dirt and like thrown it into the shower. Just like exploded everywhere.
Yeah.
Dry dock is also very interesting to talk about. Actually, it's such a weird experience too. No, but however, my first day was in July, I think mid-July 2015, and I was boarding Kara. Was my first ship, and we had a very nice rehearsal period. Not many problems, not many troubles in the cast, and we were all getting along, and everyone wanted to get on board. And then a few days before we were supposed to board, me and the F1, we got a little like under the weather, like a cold, I guess. So we were taking it quite easy with the last couple of shows we had to do in the run week. Actually, our casting agent at that time, Oliver, he came and asked us if we wanted to, we could stay in Hamburg for a couple of extra days while the cast would go on. And then our positions, those people that were already on board in that ensemble that were before us, they would stay behind and fill in for us until we got on board a little later so that we could have time to recuperate. But we were like, no, we got to leave Hamburg. We're finished with this life here. We're ready to get on board. Like we were at that time, we were like, get on the ship, get on the ship. So we really wanted to get on board. So we talked to each other and we were like, no, we can push through this. Like it's no biggie. So we got picked up, I think it's 7:00 the morning after, because we were driving to Kiel because the ship was there. So we boarded the ship in Kiel, and you have like a tradition, Sydney, but like a traditional boarding day would be like, go to crew purser, wait there for eternity, get your cabin key, go there and dump your luggage before you go and give your documents, and then you go to the tailor and you get your stuff, and then you go backstage and have fittings usually, and then rehearsal starts. So you have like staging or sound checks, and then the ball starts rolling. But
yeah, just like nothing like what I had.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Basically, yeah.
So very, very standard, like AIDA procedure. Like you get there and then everything starts, and you don't know your way around the ship because you've never been there. You don't know where to find anything. You have like 5 to 10 minutes break between every event, so you have to like really, you just have to book it. But then I started feeling like, I have like this itch in my throat. Like I know I had a cold, so I wasn't really healthy. But I was pushing it forward, and you're excited, you're on the ship for the first time, and I just thought like, I'm not going to think about it too much. So I just continued to do my stuff. And then in the afternoon we had a run of the show. It was a Madonna show called Holiday that we did. And at that time I was M1, so I had quite a few high parts. I managed to get through the run, but then as soon as that was done, and it was kind of like the calm, I just felt it like crawling up my throat, and then suddenly I was backstage doing makeup, and I just remember turning to my MD, the music director, and I just said, I've lost my voice. Like I have no voice. And I go like do like a siren or something, and I'm like, ah. And I'm like, this is me right now. What do I do? And we're like doing makeup. It's like maybe 45 minutes until the show, and it's like you gotta make the best 100%. Of it. So they're like, okay, just go out there, just push through, and just adrenaline will set in, and it will save you. And I was like, alrighty, I'll do that then. And it starts out quite fine actually. Then when you start hitting those songs with the high notes. I remember it started already in La Isla Bonita, which was the third song. And I still have the recording of me doing that show, and it's a crack-a-lackin' show. I crack the whole way through. And I'm just trying to, on the fly, just make up random harmonies that fit my voice at the time, because I just couldn't do it, And I just remember the show, it was finished, like we did the final show, like Holiday, and we took our hats off and woo, party, and then the curtain closes, and as soon as those curtains touch, I just start bawling. Aww. I just start crying so hard because I was so embarrassed. Like I had waited so long to do this, like two months of rehearsals in Hamburg.
Yeah.
And then, you get on board and you start upsetting people and, letting them down, basically, is what I felt like I was doing. So I just felt really, really bad, like coming off of that. And everyone was sympathetic, of course, like no one blamed me, but I still felt really, really bad for having my first show be such a failure on my part. And then after that, I was actually written off sick for 4 days.
Oh.
And there's only so much they can like shuffle the shows. Like they can do ones where people can cover parts and things like that. But then when you get to like, when I was doing it, it was like Cotton Club and things like that. These are certain shows that can't go ahead unless you've got all of the people, because there's the German voiceovers. So like I was on crutches, and I was literally on crutches during the day, and overnight doing shows in trainers. I weren't allowed to wear heels, and like passengers would see me and be like, "Weren't you in the show last night?" And I'd be like, "Yeah." And they'd be like, "You're on crutches," and I'd be like, "Yeah, no, it's fine. It's just a preventative measure because I've like torn a ligament in my foot, like ruptured a ligament in my foot."
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was on crutches.
Yeah.
Oh god.
How did that happen?
It was actually doing holiday on pool deck.
God.
Oh my god, so you do know the show.
It was actually, yes.
Yes,
Yeah, I was doing
yes.
holiday on pool deck, and bless him, it was a bit of a lighting error. You know, I don't know if you had the same sort of thing, but you had to run down the sides to like the basketball sort of area from the stage.
Yeah.
And we was doing that,
long
and all the lights went off. So we couldn't see. It was pitch black, and a guest stepped out in front of me. So I've like gone round the guest, like, oh my god, like I can't like knock a guest out, like that won't look good. So I've like darted round them, and I've done my foot, like done my foot in, and I'm singing the lead because this is in Holiday, like the song, which. So I'm singing. I'm supposed to be singing, and I've gone to my F2. You need to sing. I said you need, because I was like.
Tearing
Right,
up, yeah,
like,
yeah.
I knew something could happen. So she's carried on singing the rest of Holiday. Like, this is how quick you have to think, by the way, as well. I literally went, I literally went sing. Not to, but like, I don't cry. Like, I'm not a crier. Like, I can deal with pain quite well. I have quite a high pain threshold. But I was like, oh, that hurts. And I just had to like sit down then and there in full bloody Madonna corset, hat, makeup, everything, on the floor. But yeah, it is an odd situation, especially when they're like, listen, like, it's not your fault and we get it, but like, this is the situation we're in, like either you need to do a show or we're gonna have to get someone else out. I don't want to be replaced. Like, I don't want someone to come out and do my job. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to do it.
Yeah, it's
like,
because you know that so many other people on the ship will have to work twice as hard because something has to change because of you. Like, what a lot of people doesn't realize is that just because you can't do a show and it has to be cancelled, it affects like the theme of the evening, it affects the bar, it affects like the program of the ship just changes because the show changes. So it's just not okay, just cancel the show, because then it is like the domino, like it affects everything.
Technicians, the light, whatever, sound,
Yeah, and especially the technicians, if the show's set up for a different thing, they've then got to get into the theatre, reset for a whole new show, sort out all the light. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not as easy as just like, oh, well, we'll just do this.
There's, as you were saying, Sydney, like when you're actually in the moment and something goes wrong, that is also something I think most people who are in theater could probably like have stories and stuff about that. But on a ship, it's so much different. And if something goes wrong, like you get hurt in the middle of a show, you can't necessarily stop performing.
Yeah.
This is for you, Sydney, because Alex was actually also there. He knows what we're going to talk about now.
Okay.
So the thing was, so first of all, the premise is the weather is fine. The weather is good. We're leaving Gran Canaria. So we have just picked up new passengers. We have the welcome show and we start on pool deck. So we're kind of waiting for Sail Away to end. And you have to wait for it because it kind of overrides the whole sound system of the ship. So you have to wait for that to play. And while we're sailing, we're standing ready to like go on stage when it's done. And we just start like slowly tilting just a little bit, like kind of like we're feeling the waves hit us from a side. So we're just slowly tilting, and then the next tilt is just a little more, and then it's a little more after that, and suddenly it feels like the ship is like on its side and shit is flying. Like the jacuzzi is overspilling, it flows all over the stage because there's a jacuzzi kind of connected to the stage on the smallest ship, Car. And the pool bar, which is right next to where we're standing, everything just flies. Like glasses, bottles, everything opens, everything flies. People are holding on to bars and like railings and stuff because we're really leaning here. And I've done 7 contracts and I've never lent that much, like never. And we were still kind of in port, actually. We hadn't even left the port.
It was a fluke accident, really, what happened.
And I think the problem was that we were so close to port that they weren't allowed to use the wave breakers. And I think when we exited the port, we had wind directly hitting us from the side. And I think because we couldn't use the wave breakers, the ship was just starting to lean like crazy. And everywhere, the shop, the bar on deck 8, and it was just like everything went crashing. And we were really like, oh my God, what is going to happen now? Like, are we going to tilt? are we gonna capsize? Because it felt like the last tilt that was the most severe tilt. It really felt like we were gonna fully go to that side at one point, and we were all like holding on for dear life, and like our heartbeats were like crazy. I just remember feeling like this is the worst moment of my career.
Yeah. Rough sea is like a whole different...
We were so scared. That was horrible. And then the thing was with that instance was that, because of that, the whole stage was flooded. Like the green mat that is there, like the fake grass, it was like slushy. And it was so wet everywhere, and they couldn't get it clean in time because obviously you can't like wipe away the water from the grass. Yeah. And the girls had heels on, and it wasn't safe to dance. So we canceled the show first. But then we were like talking to each other, and we were like, but what if we just do the whole show on the volleyball field? Like beyond the stage. Like we don't have to cancel the whole show. Let's just take the dancers out. We keep the choreo that we can do in the formations we would have done on stage, but we did it on the volleyball field instead, in those like harsh white lights that are slimming on everyone. So we did the whole show on the pool deck, and as soon as we didn't know what to do choreo-wise, we just ran around like screaming and playing with the passengers, doing whatever we could. Yeah.
Also, Sydney, as far as I remember, you were splashed once by the water from the pool on the pool deck, right?
Yes, I was. So we was doing, I think it was New Flame, and we was doing it, and like there'd already been discussions beforehand, like we shouldn't be doing this show, like, but wherever we was, it was cold. It was really cold, and there was already talks that we shouldn't be doing it outside, blah blah blah, whatever. Decided to do it outside. Our F3's lips were blue before we'd even got on stage, and she was like this, like they'd been vacuuming the stage before we went on because it was soaking wet, and I was there, and I think it actually was the opening song, like we hadn't even got into it, and obviously I'm singing this song, and I've walked over, and it's like, I give it all up to you, and I've walked over and it's just gone and I was like, I literally, my face was, when I tell you, it was dripping, like I was like, and I was like, I nearly choked on the hot tub water, and I was just like trying to sing. I could see the rest of my cast, like, God forbid, like, is she gonna get any words out? And I was like,
yeah, those moments, oh my god.
First song in the show as well, like first song in the show, I had the whole rest of the show to do. I was like, brilliant. The only other, probably the worst thing I ever had to do, other than that New Flame outside where I got the water in my mouth, was Holiday, sat on the edge of the stage indoors.
No.
Yes.
It's not a concert show.
They've already, like, cut the dancers. Dancers are gone. Singers, you're going to do what you can. Next thing, you know what? In full Madonna costume, corset, your bra on, your lace, your black bodysuit with just your bra. You're going to sit on the edge of the stage and just sing a concert show, a party show. And, like, there was 3 people sick in the theatre while the show was going on. And, like, the sea was that rough that even sat down, our F3 got, like, not thrown off the stage, but, like, you know, like when you're sort of, like, leaning with your legs still on the floor, like you're sat but you're not, you're sort of perched. She sort of like lunged forward because one of the waves just sort of threw her off.
Oh my god.
Honestly, like it was so awkward.
Yeah, and also to note about Kara is that the theater is in the front of the ship, and the backstage is the closest to the front, the highest up, because there's lower levels, like deck 3, you have cabins that are further front, but because it's higher up, the waves make the movement bigger. So like if you're backstage, I remember one time we also had to cancel the BB3 spot, which is like an extra event that you do with singers or dancers. And I remember standing backstage because I could still do it because I wasn't feeling sick. But I was just backstage, and it was like rising and sinking, and every time it went down, you like jumped on the waves, so it would like everything would shake. And I remember going up, and I jumped, and I shit you not, I was 1 centimeter away from hitting my head in the ceiling, because when I jumped, the ship went down. And I was like, oh my god.
Like, for not just the girls, but kind of mainly the girls, obviously you have to be backstage for a long time before the show starts. When it's rough and you're just sat there, like luckily after the first 2 weeks, I was absolutely fine. I didn't get seasick. First 2 weeks, hell on earth. Hell on earth. Had to fully, like I was doing a rehearsal where I had my taped mic. I was like doing a sound check, and I had to run and go and be sick, and like I literally had to rip this mic off my face. And then I come out and they was like, we left your mic on. I was like, you're so funny. But do you know what I mean? Like,
got you.
But like to have to be there, like you might have to be there. Obviously before everyone's there like half hour before anyway, because then you've got like sometimes you've got a boulevard or you've got whatever going on beforehand, but like you can be there like over like maybe 2 hours before, just stood there getting made to feel sick.
Us just talking about it, I feel like movement and.
Dude, I think I've been sat here doing this.
I think so too. Actually, I've been noticing that.
Now you've just said that. I'm sure I've been sat here swaying like. What is wrong with me?
We're all getting transported.
We're talking about rough sea, and I'm sat here like, it feels like home.
We're getting into the groove.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Oh my god. I do kind of miss that, like falling asleep though, with a bit of rough sea, because it feels like you're in a cradle.
And me and Rob, we were sharing, like we were neighbors, so we had our beds were next to each other and wall in between. And
we basically slept
we slept next to each other with a thin metal coating in between. But basically, Rob was always saying when it was rough, she was like, "It's so nice because it feels like you're like in a cradle and you're being cradled asleep." And I was like, I hate it. I hate it when it moves when I sleep. I hate it so much. Like, especially the crashing.
I'd be like, I slept so well last night. Freddie'd be like, I haven't slept.
Couldn't sleep at all.
God.
Thanks for listening. We have new episodes coming out every Monday. Don't miss out. We have a lot to talk about.